Good evening, everyone. This is Jeff with Astroscoop Deep Dive Astrology Coaching. Today is Friday, February 7th, 2025. And I just realized on the thumbnail and what I posted on X and Instagram said February 8th. So I'm not on tomorrow night. I'm on tonight. So sorry about the confusion. Today is February 7th, 2025, Friday, Eastern Standard Time. And I'm looking over here, and of course it's pitch black here at 8. But the energy is changing because the sunset is well after 5 now. And it doesn't really get dark here until around 5:30 or so. So that's just wonderful to see. Really, really nice. We'll give it a few minutes. I see Carolyn's here. Happy Friday. Yes, absolutely. Definitely happy Friday. And here on the East Coast, we've been having these little back-to-back snowstorms. And we're going to have apparently 2 or 3 more. We're having one tomorrow night and then one on Tuesday, maybe another one Wednesday or Thursday. So it's just back-to-back midwinter storms, which is typical for this area, but the last couple of winters have been very mild as far as precipitation. So I guess Mother Nature is balancing out, doing a balancing act with all that. So we're going to wait a few minutes, see if anyone else pops in. Usually like 5 to 10 minutes after the hour, people start popping in. How's everyone doing? So last week, I talked about Aquarius 2, the second decan of Aquarius, which are Uranus-ruled people with a sub-ruler of Mercury. And tonight will be the last Aquarius live stream where we talk just about Aquarius. It's the Aquarius 3 decanate, and it's Uranus with a co-ruler of Venus. So we're going to talk about that tonight. And I just realized that this year, this February, Pisces comes early on the 18th at 5 in the morning here. So Pisces is very early this year. So Pisces is 10 days. So we only have 10 days left of Aquarius, and then we're going to be in Pisces. And we'll talk about the transits, and as we did last week, and all the planetary energy is gearing up for a lot of changes, definitely a lot of changes this spring and summer, but even just in the next month, there's going to be a lot of good changes and interesting energy. And I watched a couple astrology videos. I watched a live stream astrology video, and I watched another one last week, and just to get some other astrologers' takes on the transits and what's going on with some of the charts of famous people, and those were very interesting. And it's interesting that astrologers we're all talking about very similar things, but we have different takes on it depending on what system we're using, whether we look at it spiritually, politically, philosophically, financially. There's all these different branches that people kind of angles people come with the astrology. So, so that's interesting. But before we get started, I just want to mention a few things, some housekeeping. The live streams are here right now at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube at Astroscoop 3801. So right now I'm keeping it for 8. I've changed it from 7 to 8. Gives me a little more time to prepare. And I'm on X, which is Astro_Scoop, not dash, Astro_Scoop. And then I'm on Instagram, Astroscoop7. And there's a new thing called Blue Sky, something like that. I might get on there. One of my followers mentioned that to me. and she said that a lot of creators are going on Blue Sky. So it's I guess a similar to X or Twitter. So I will check that out. And also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share my content. It really helps a tiny channel like mine. My channel last season, since the fall, my channel has been growing very, very slowly. It's really come to a sort of a tortoise pace. So now that we're in almost mid-February, I'd like to get the subscriber base up and try to think of some new things for videos and live streams. So please share with your family and friends, comment, and sign into YouTube and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. You have to click all or personalized when you're signed in to YouTube and you find Astroscoop 3801. But please don't forget to subscribe. And still, I have 80% of my viewers, which is accounting for dozens and dozens, and then eventually over the month, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of viewers that are not subscribed. So please subscribe. And then I want to thank Pakistan. Is my the U.S. and Pakistan right now for the last couple weeks are my most viewed countries. And the U.S. goes in and out of my top 5 kind of every other month. Sometimes the U.S. is low, but Pakistan is a new country that I'm getting viewers from, which is great. So thank you so much. If anyone from Pakistan sees this with subtitles or anything, please let me know why you like the channel and what kind of astrology that you are into and what is Pakistani astrology. I would be very curious to know. But lots of good things going on. Like I said, we have this is the last full week of Aquarius coming. And then the Aquarius-Pisces Cusp is just in Aquarius-Pisces Cusp, depending on what books you read, starts right around the 16th or 17th of February. So about 9-10 days right before we go into Pisces, we will, for a few days, we'll be on the Aquarius-Pisces Cusp, and I will discuss that cusp next week, the live stream. I think next week we'll do half, since I've talked so much about Aquarius, a little bit about Aquarius and the Aquarius-Pisces Cusp, and then maybe some more transits or celebrity examples next week. So please stay tuned for that. And just a reminder, when I go through each week, when you tune in here, I know this is a long hour, and you might want to think about at what point you want certain things you want to hear. In the beginning, I talk about the period that we're in. I will mention the transits sooner. Within the first 20 minutes, I'll mention the transits. Then towards the end, we'll go through the celebrities and then finish out a little bit, finish up on Aquarius and any other transit information, or if anybody in the chat asks about something specific like the planets, especially the outer planets, we usually go over that like at the end, the last 10-15 minutes. But thank you so much for tuning in. For any of you people that even catch it on the replay regularly, thank you. I really appreciate it. Every little viewer, but let's get that momentum going as we get closer to the spring. And I think this is kind of an odd time right now with the dead of winter, and we've had a lot of retrograde energy planets, which is going to change soon. And we have a lot of elements that are going to change. So I think the energy as we get closer to that third week in March when we start spring, we're going to get closer to expressing some of this dormant energy from the winter that's stored up, to start expressing it and get the action moving for all the channels on YouTube and getting all the information out about astrology and spirituality and how this is all connected, kind of thing. So tonight is Aquarius 3, which is February 8th, which is actually tomorrow. I thought it was today. February 8th to the 15th or 16th, depending on the degrees and your year, is Aquarius 3. So last week we talked about Aquarius 2, people being co-ruled by Mercury, and those were degrees that are basically between 10 and 20, approximately, for Aquarius people born right in the middle of the sign of the period. So this week is the 8th to the 15th or 16th, and we're looking at the third and final decanate of Aquarius, or the most mature version, so to speak, of Aquarius 3, and co-ruled by Venus, adding a Venus or a Libra sort of bent, or Libra sort of influence, or not directly a Libra influence, but a Venus influence, which rules Libra and Taurus. So we're going to talk about that. And one thing I want to mention about Aquarius, and I know I've said this many times, I said it last year and the year before, Aquarius is one of those signs that it's the 11th sign, and it's almost at the end of the zodiac cycle, which ends in Pisces, which is coming up. And Aquarius is one of those rare signs where Aquarius is detached and caring at the same time. And it's very different than all the other 11 signs in that way, that they are caring and detached at the same time. And that's how Aquarians are often referred to as cold or aloof, because of that detachment. So that's one theme that we've been talking about with Aquarius people, all decans. Now this decan, someone popped in ER29, welcome, thank you. January 29th, 1986. Okay, 39. So you have the big 40 next year. All right. So this person, January 29th, that's Aquarius 1, early Aquarius, the week of genius. And Aquarius 3 people, the difference is the Venus. So all Aquarius periods, 1, 2, and 3, going even from that last period of January right up to around February 15th or 16th, has the Uranus ruler, and this decan has the Venus ruler. And it's really interesting because the more people, when you get into astrology and you look up a lot of charts, or at least I look up a ton of charts. I mean, in a given week, I probably look up a dozen charts of famous people, or my friends or family, someone I haven't looked at a chart in 1 or 2 years. It's just, you start to notice the little subtle differences with the people that are the same sign, but born different weeks in this period. Like a January 29th Aquarius is much different than a February 8th Aquarius because of the Venus influence. So the Aquarius 3 person having Venus, there's a social bent to these people, or is a sociability that is a little more striving for attention, I think, than Aquarius 1 or Aquarius 2. And that's because of the Venus decadent and the constellation. So Aquarius 2 people here can be quite opinionated, and that is the combination of air, the air sign, and the fixity. The quality is fixed air is Aquarius. And, fixed signs hold on to what they, they're like, they have a flag and they plant their flag, and they hold on to it. So it's either literal or metaphorical of what they're holding on to. And that's often it's opinions. So all the fixed signs are like that. But this decan is definitely can be very opinionated, yet they are very accepting. And this is the one decan of Aquarius where Aquarius people this week, as opposed to an earlier Aquarius or a Capricorn Aquarius cusp person, needs more. They are more needy in a lot of ways. And generally speaking, the air signs are not, needy is not usually a word that is associated with the air signs, as they tend to be more independent, are more detached from wanting excessive personal attention or anything like that. But this Venus decadent Aquarius person is definitely someone that's social and really looking more for that social, mental, and emotional attention and the late degrees. So, but they are very accepting, even though they're opinionated. So that's the interesting thing. They can be very much a kind of a quiet rebel, a quiet, pleasant rebel. I kind of call them pleasant rebels. And yet they're also they can be people pleasers because they so want to be accepted and they really do want to connect with people on a philosophical and a social, universal kind of way, because Aquarius is the universal sign and Aquarius is the group sign. So whether it's a small group of people, 2 people, or a group of 10 people at a club or something, they want to be accepted and yet still remain opinionated and be an individual. So Aquarians are hard to figure out like that, especially Aquarians born this decade. So obviously I talked about the detachment for Aquarius. So Aquarians born this week are a little less detached, I think, a little less. And again, it's because of the Venus influence. So if you think of the Venus influence as like a Libra influence, where Libra is the sign of partnership and marriage, then there's more of a drive to be accepted and more of a need to be needed and less need to be completely aloof and detached from people and maybe be your own island, so to speak. So a little less detached, and this Aquarian might be more apt to get closer to people than an Aquarian born like on January 29th or from last week, like, you know, February, let's say February 6th, yesterday, which would still be the second decan, or February 5th, right in the middle there. So they could be closer. And again, this is because I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to be entering the cusp in about 9 days. We're going to be on the Aquarius Pisces cusp. And I know that a lot of astrologers and systems have the cusps. They're always 2 or 3 days different and off, but based on the tropical astrology that I'm following, and then I look it up in an ephemeris, and it just gives you all the degrees. So that's how I know. And when people get confused, I get a lot of comments, especially from my older videos. Oh, someone will say, "Oh, I just discovered you, and you said this 2 years ago. Your date is off 2 days or 3 days." Well, it may be off, but it's off because you might be using a different system. So that's why you have to look up either an astrology program or an ephemeris. You got to look up your time, your birthday, your place, have the right time zone and have your time. So you'll know exactly what that degree is, because some people argue the cusp degrees a little bit. But if it's very, very late on a sign, that's a cusp degree. If it's a 0 sign, if the sign just started, when we'll talk about that when it gets to 0 Pisces, that's cusp. That's not full on, true Pisces kind of thing. So the Venus here, the Venus influence craves affection. So the people I've met born this week or that I've worked with, definitely it goes back to that sociability. It's like they want to remain, they want space and want to remain an individual, but they definitely crave affection more so than like a first decan Aquarius would be, where it would be more Uranus, more of a Uranus influence from the planet. But they crave affection and they like attention. This is interesting because Aquarius, I mentioned this last week, Aquarius, the sun in Aquarius is, it's in a weakened position astrologically, and that's just like with traditional and modern astrology. That doesn't mean it's literally weak, physically or mentally, but what it means is it has to work the Aquarius person has to work that much harder, possibly, to have a fleshed out and healthy sense of self, ego, or self-esteem. So, and that definitely goes for people born this week. And so if someone's craving affection with that Venus influence and craving attention, they are needing that, possibly needing some of that ego or some of that will or some of that sense of self from someone else. That's attractive to them because they may lack it, and they want to feel that or want to get that from someone else. Even if it's just from a friend or a coworker or something, you might want to just get that from someone. But Aquarius is not the sign of the ego. Aquarius is, I know, it's mental, but Aquarians born this week definitely have more of a need for attention, more so like their opposite, Leo. Like in 6 months from now, we'll be talking about the opposite period, which is Leo 3. Leo 3, which is leadership, fire potential. So that Venus is interesting, that it throws a monkey wrench into the usual Aquarian possibly being detached and aloof and not needing much attention from other people, enjoying it while it's there, but not necessarily needing it. But this decan is definitely different. And part of that is because it's closer. You have the Venus influence and it's coming closer to the Pisces Aquarius cusp. But there's definitely can be a fear of rejection here. And that coincides with the Leo 3 and Aquarius 3 axis, which are opposites in the zodiac. So you always consider the opposites. I know I say this every week, but of course we have different viewers every week. So I want to keep mentioning these themes so that when you watch me in the future, you kind of know what to look forward to, and maybe you can gear your questions or comments towards that, so I can help you absorb the material as easily as possible. But the Leo 3 and Aquarius 3 axes are opposites, so you always want to consider that. So there's definitely a fear of rejection, and that plays into Leo too. And the Leo and Aquarius have very strong ideals that they like to provoke with people, and they like to share with people. And there can be a better than thou, that's the phrase I used, better than thou attitude or elitist kind of thing. That's something with the Leo Aquarius cusp that can be possible. And the Leo Aquarius cusp also, there's, when we talk about Leos can also be aloof in a similar way to Aquarius if they feel hurt or their pride is stepped on, sort of thing. So it's an aloofness that's similar. Of course, they use it differently because they're different elements. You got air and you have fire. But the better than thou attitude of people born this week, they kind of can create, as pleasant as they are, they can really create their own trouble. And I worked with a couple people. I remember very specifically, I worked with 2 people born that week. And one of them was always pushing buttons, poking people's balloons. That's what I've seen. I saw another astrologer write that in a blog. She wrote, Aquarius likes to poke balloons, because if Aquarius wants to be honest and truthful, they don't want you to pretend, or may not be liking you to pretend to be something you're not. So they're poking your balloon, so to speak. So Aquarian threes have to be a little careful of that. So the fixity, as I mentioned before, fixed air, the fixed quality that's the interesting thing about Aquarius. So you have 4 fixed signs. You have Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leo. All can be very fixed, resolute, stubborn, hard to move, hard to convince, and they like to have their own method and their own way of doing things because they're fixed. They don't want to do things too slow or too fast, but maybe not be rushed. But the interesting thing about this deck in Aquarius is they have that fixity, but yet they're more social and craving for attention. So that creates, they get bored very easily. And this is also from the last decan I talked about last week with the Mercury or a little bit of Gemini influence. It's hard. I think it's hard for, Aquarius people in general, and you Aquarians you can correct me if I'm wrong, please. I don't have any planets in Aquarius at all in my chart, not even one, not even an outer planet. I don't have any Aquarius at all. So I probably did in a past life, if you believe in that. I'm sure I did at some point. And I really learn a lot from Aquarius people, I think, because I don't have any Aquarius. So when I relate to Aquarius people, whether it's on a coworker basis or friendship or family, I always learn so much from Aquarius people. I always listen, because Aquarius people, no matter what age, will have a very unique and quirky, offbeat way of looking at life, looking at people, human insights, the world, the universe, whatever it is, earth, creatures, animals. That Aquarius is fascinated by everything. So even if you have a high school dropout Aquarius person that only made it to 12th grade, and then you have an Aquarius person that has a master's degree in sociology or a PhD in something like that, or psychology. Okay, there'll be different levels of formal intelligence or maybe IQ, but Aquarians have, what I would call it? I would call it a UQ. You've heard of IQ, and EQ is emotional intelligence, but they have UQ, universal intelligence. So I think if you come into this world like ER29 and some other Aquarians I've talked to recently, you come into this world as an Aquarius, and I know some people don't believe in that you chose it, but if you do, if you come in and choose to be an Aquarius, you're choosing a scorecard where you're inevitably going to have people that don't get you. Does that make sense? Whether it's your parents raising you, UQ, I like that. Thank you. Yeah, universal intelligence. I really do think that's what Aquarius is all about. Every sign has its gifts and talents, and has a talent for intelligence in different ways. But because of the air and the Uranus, and here with Venus, there's definitely a universal intelligence. And so it doesn't matter how old, what generation Aquarius comes from, or what the level of education is. Aquarians will always have an intelligent bent on things, and be open-minded and broad-minded, and want to know as much as possible, and yet still have that fixity of, hey, I want to know about you, but wait, I still have my strong opinions. So I'm gonna try to balance that out with listening to the group. But folks born this week could definitely be bored easily, and that can create a smugness. I mentioned last week how Aquarius people in the second decan, things can kind of come easy to them because they're naturally talented. They can do things without a lot of effort, and they can do things with ease. And that's another thing with Aquarius people in general, is Aquarius are quick learners, and tend to, they might learn something in half the time where another sign would take it or would absorb it. So depending on, and the Aquarius planets work much differently too. Wherever there's an Aquarius planet other than the sun, there's going to be an offbeat quirkiness. I had a friend years ago who had the moon in Aquarius. He had the sun in Taurus, but moon in Aquarius. And he would come out of the blue when you're in a conversation with a couple people. You would be talking about apples, and he starts talking about oranges. Or you start talking about oranges, he talks about apples. So he could not follow. It was just his own brain, the way he would come out with sudden things. He wouldn't stay on the topic. And I've known many Aquarius moon people that are like that. The Aquarius moon people especially. So if you have sun, moon, or rising in Aquarius, that would definitely, especially near the Aquarius 3 decan, that definitely comes into play. If you're a later degree Aquarius, and especially if you're closer to Pisces. Then we'll talk about how different the February Pisces cusp people are. But yes, bored easily, and you can be a little smug based on wanting things to be kind of light, no hassle. Aquarians can be very caring and very thoughtful and loyal to their family and friends, but there's often an itchiness I see in Aquarius people with major Aquarius planets, an itchiness to do something other than their daily routine of work, family, go to the gym, whatever. Aquarians need hobbies, they need to read, or they need to be involved in music, or something to use that Uranus. Um, and these people, this second with Venus, they would need more social outlets, I would think, either clubs or just going out, dancing, or just shows, either theater or concerts. Definitely need more of that kind of social interaction. So the next phrase I say for Aquarius 3 is wayward ways, and they can become unruly. And I have known many people born this week, and most of the people I've known born this week are women. So I don't have a lot to go on with the males between the 8th and 15th or 16th. But from what I've read and the research of the celebrities and the people I've known, wayward ways. So there is always an element, especially with Aquarians born this decan, there's always an element to Aquarius that's, well, it's kind of like don't fence me in. Now that's really like kind of Sagittarius to me. Don't fence me in is really Sagittarius because it's the horse. A horse, a horse speeding out of a barn. But Aquarians, especially, and this week too, as much as it's like it's a delicate balance. The psychic balance of an Aquarius person is very delicate, and by that, what I mean by that is I think there's a lot of Aquarius people that are much more sensitive and care a lot more about things and about people than they lead on, than they let you know. Okay, so if Aquarius is quiet and introverted and aloof, that in no way is an indicator or a barometer of how much they care about something or how much thought they're putting into something. They just might be on their own planet in their own space. So I think it's unfair to say to an Aquarius, well, that Aquarius is aloof and quiet, so they're not showing any passion. They're dispassionate, so they don't care. And I think that's how some of the other signs kind of get Aquarius wrong. So, I like to be kind of, kind of strong and honest about the signs, but we have to let's try to judge the signs fairly, because there's reasons why the signs have those tendencies. So I think Aquarius does care more than they lead on. And again, you'd have to look at Uranus in your chart. And for these folks, you would look to Venus, because Venus is love. So their Venus placement would be really, really key to how this Aquarius person, their love urge, how they would show their affection and their social affection to either a person, a family member, or a group. You'd have to look to Venus in addition to Uranus. And, I've known a lot of Aquarius people born this week that have Venus in Capricorn. So that's a huge grounding influence for sometimes a wayward, flighty Aquarius person that wants to be unruly or doesn't want to be unruly, but kind of is naturally, like I said at the beginning, a pleasant rebel. That's kind of the Aquarius person, and especially an Aquarius 3 person. I remember this one woman I worked with. I think her birthday was the 9th or 10th. And at the time that I worked with her, she was probably around 50. And I was much younger than her. But she used to get away with things at work, not quite violate policies, but she'd get away with these little things like taking a longer lunch break. And she was just very funny and charming, and she kind of just got away with things. She was a rebel like that, but she did it with a smile. She was very friendly, and she was a hard worker. So I suppose her hard work helped her, her unruly ways. But she definitely was a rebel and didn't always follow the rules. So that was it, even for a 50-year-old. So that was kind of an interesting thing. So I wanted to get into the transits a little earlier. We're halfway through. Thank you for sticking in there, in here with me. For any new viewers, I appreciate it. Usually the live streams are about an hour to an hour and 10 minutes. So I try to mix it up so that people aren't bored. And feel free at any point after if you want to watch the replay to see what I said, or want to scrub and skip ahead or whatever when I get to the celebrities. Let me know in the comments what kind of things you'd like to hear about in future live streams, because I'm getting a little bored with myself about my routine here with the live streams. I'm getting a little bored or a little stayed with it. So if you have any ideas coming for the spring, especially for like March or April, when we get into Aries, please let me know, and I'll try to incorporate maybe some of your ideas, and we'll change it up a little bit. All right, so let's look at the transits. These are this is the cosmic chart, and I watched a really good live stream last week. I watched an hour live stream from a British astrologer. There were actually 3 astrologers on there, and we watched a video, which was awesome, really, really good. And they talked about some political people and their charts with the country, I think the UK chart and the USA chart with the transits. So I'm not going to do all that, but they went into some really good, interesting things here. So right now in the sky, we have Sun and Mercury at 19 of Aquarius, or Mercury is at 18. So it's really, really close. So we have that conjunction, Sun, Mercury. Now this happens every year. And of course, the sun in Aquarius changes every day, every birthday, it changes another degree. So the sun moves super quick. You have 30 degrees. Mercury also moves very quickly, right? We just talked about Mercury just entered Aquarius. It's already at 18. So the sun and Mercury in Aquarius conjunct right now, especially for the next just few days, next 4 to 6 days, it's the strongest. And then it wanes. But we're talking about major, look at all the stuff in the financial markets right now. And I'm in no way a financial expert, but I do watch a lot of videos, and I do a lot of research between astrology and finances. And it's interesting how much chatter there is about these tech companies, these AI companies, and how it's relating to this sun, all this Aquarius energy right now, and being ruled by Uranus in Taurus, which is at 23. This Uranus at Taurus, right here, Uranus at Taurus at 23, and that's now direct, which is, I think, beautiful, because the Uranus energy is sudden and erratic. And whether that's in someone's personal chart and affects someone personally with the people around them, or it affects your work life or your love life, or you're a little bit off the wall or whatever, in a cosmic chart, if we're looking at, this is the chart of the USA right now, or a baby born right now, if a baby's born between 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York time, he or she is going to have this cool chart with the Sun and Mercury Aquarius conjunct, which is very fixed and opinionated, and yet open-minded, right? So that's the beauty of Aquarius. Open-minded, and yet when Aquarius people know something, they really know something. That's why I said before, as someone without Aquarius, I always listen, because I talked to an Aquarius person that I worked with years ago. She was a high school dropout. She quit high school in like 11th grade or something, and she went into sales. She was such a bright, intelligent person. I mean, college and college education is just one small measure of intelligence. But and no other sign knows that more than Aquarius. Aquarius knows there's all these different kinds of smarts. And that's why I said last week, Aquarius can bring that talent out in people. Aquarius sees that in people. Aquarius is very clear and can see the big picture, and they can see what your talents are. Aquarius is very good with that. So that Sun and Mercury Aquarius is very fixed, very potent Aquarius energy right now. And of course, that's not going to last long. That's all going to be Pisces energy soon. So that's going to be very different. But we have that going on. And then we have the Uranus, as I mentioned, it's all ruled by Uranus in Taurus in a late degree, which is this is a troubled degree. You're going to hear a lot of astrologers talking about this coming up around 24, 25 degrees of Algol, Taurus. Some of the mythology of the late Taurus energy in that constellation. It's female energy that's very passionate, but that can be unbridled and can be not tamed well or not controlled well if you don't have a good focus for that, for this kind of Taurus intensity. And again, Aquarius is fixed, as I mentioned, that fixity of Aquarius, and Uranus and Taurus is fixed. So you have the Uranus planet, which is the Aquarius planet, still in Taurus. So of course, things are going to get a little lighter and a little more loosey-goosey when Uranus enters Gemini. When Uranus enters Gemini, then we're going to see and feel things. There will be possibly more instability as well. But having Uranus go direct from this late Taurus into Gemini is going to be a good thing, because it's really firing up things. It's really firing up things to move ahead and shaking up all the money systems right now and the currencies around the world. Taurus is a money sign. So that's very important. So Venus right now finally went into Aries. So you see how fast Venus moves. So Venus is an early degree, 2 degrees of Aries. And then we also have the node, which was in Aries, that just went back to 29 of Pisces. And that's very significant because all of that is cusp. All of this is cusp energy here. Venus, the node, and Neptune, all very, very late. The 28 Neptune Pisces, 29 nodal Pisces, and Venus at 2 of Aries. So those are all conjunct right now and very strong. And that's what people have been asking me about, and were asking about 3 or 4 months ago, what was coming, all this Pisces and Aries energy, which is so different than all this Capricorn into all this Aquarius energy that's more group oriented, more group consciousness, and more a little more impersonal and detached. But we have that going on and all that, like I said. And then Jupiter is finally direct. Jupiter just went direct, and Jupiter is direct at 11 degrees of Gemini. So if anyone has a 11 degree, 10, 11, 12 early or mid Gemini planet, you're getting that conjunction. And you're getting the conjunction in a direct way now. Now it's going to move forward, and you're done with that if you have a Gemini planet that it's conjuncted. But Jupiter generally should have given the middle of the road Geminis some enhancement with your communication, and ideas and thoughts should stimulate that, especially if you have a Mercury in Gemini. That'd be really good. The moon is also in Gemini tonight, and that just conjuncted Jupiter, went past it. It's now at 24 degrees. And then, of course, we have Saturn at 18 of Pisces. So Saturn is moving along now, and Saturn is direct as well. And the 18 degree of Pisces is interesting because it equates to Virgo. Now, that's interesting. It equates to an 18 degree Virgo planet. And Pisces and Virgo, that's another axis. Like I mentioned, Leo and Aquarius, Pisces and Virgo are opposite each other. So it's very significant that this Saturn and Pisces moving forward. And, I've been talking about this whole winter, even into the fall, how Saturn is a heavy planet because it rules Capricorn, and Pisces is a melancholy planet, or can be melancholy. And the combination of having Saturn and a water sign like Pisces can be very heavy. It can be a wet blanket. It can be very heavy together. So, but now that it's not retrograde, now that it's moving forward, now this is going to create, if anyone has a Pisces planet, especially a sun or moon, somewhere 17, 18, 19, 20, this is heavy. This is heavy. And there's no doubt this is going to make you a little sad. I would guarantee it. It's going to, even if you're someone doesn't cry easily, or you have a very resilient attitude, this is heavy. This is definitely heavy. And you may feel sad, or you may feel like clouds coming over you for no reason if you have a Pisces planet there. Especially because it's Pisces, but also because it's Saturn. And it's heavy. But it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to get quiet and do some of the work. We're all so busy. We're always busy being busy. And we're not always doing any inner work or dealing with stuff that we need to deal with. But that Pisces, if it's conjuncting a planet of yours that's Pisces, and of course, if you have a later degree Pisces, that's coming, but it will definitely give that Pisces planet a wake-up call to structure it and to feel some of that possible sadness or melancholy or hurt feelings and deal with that so you can move on. That's because Saturn is always work. Now, if you have a Virgo planet and this Saturn at 18 is opposing it, it's a little different. It's not the conjunction, so it's not a literal lesson with Pisces energy, but it is a push-pull with the Virgo person. So if you know someone that's like a Virgo 2 in the second decan, like, for example, let me think off the top of my head, maybe someone born September 5th, 6th, or 7th, or 8th, that period in September, they would be a Virgo 2. So their sun would be conjunct, not conjunct, but their sun would be inadvertently conjunct this Saturn Pisces, connecting to this 18 degree. And I've seen other astrologers mention that as well. And I also want to mention, I haven't talked about this for months, but I know I see there's some new people that popped in the last couple of minutes, and I appreciate that. That I always talk about the Saturn returns, and you'll always hear astrology people talking about Saturn returns. It's probably one of the most popular things to talk about because it's so important. And when you study your Saturn, you see other people going through Saturn lessons, and you look at their chart and you see the transit and you see it work, it's like a clue. It's like a clue in the game Clue. It's like a clue of who did it, who done it. So it just gives you that much more fine tuning about what's going on. So you kind of know, maybe mentally or emotionally, you might know how to be more resilient and to kind of deal with what's coming if life's give you a hit or something. So for the Saturn Pisces return people, the 1994 people are done, 64 people are done, 64, 94, and also 1934. If you happen to know, someone that's turning 91 this year, God bless them. They had their third Saturn return in their lifetime, and they're done. But 1995, the fall, anyone that's born in the fall of 1995 is coming up on finishing their Saturn return. Obviously, they will be 30, and they'll be done with it somewhere around September, October. They'll feel the hit earlier this year. By the spring, they'll be in the thick of it, and they'll feel it. So they'll basically be done by the summer. And then 1965, most of 65 people to early 1966 people. If you know anybody that's turning 60 or 59 this year, they are going through their second Saturn return, and possibly will have changes in their relationships, marriage, or work. Some kind of structure of their daily life will change and modify, and they may need something else in their life as they approach 60 to give themselves meaning, because Saturn is always work, but it's always meaning too. Saturn is substance, something that is substantial. And then we have the 1936 folks, who you'll be turning 89 this year, and I hope you make it to 90 next year. So the 36 folks turning 89 this year, and the early 1937 folks turning 88. So if you know anyone in your family around 30, 60, or 90, basically, there are other people that are close to that Saturn Pisces transit. They're closer to the conjunction, but these are the people that are finishing up their first, second, or third Saturn return. And those are poignant times in that person's life. If anyone watching tonight, obviously the ER29, you are 39, you're almost 40. So you've already gone through your Saturn return between 28 and 30. And then between 35 and 38, you went through another Saturn return. I'm sorry, not Saturn return, another Saturn cycle. And then between 42 and 44, you will go through the next Saturn cycle. And the early 40s to 44 is tough. That is tough for people because you get a Uranus thing, you get a Uranus transit, and you get a Saturn transit. So between 40 and 44, for people that don't want to grow up, oof, it's a hit, because life's going to say, you really got to grow up. If you didn't do it at 30 to 34, 40 to 44 is like, well, you're really late to the game. We got to get going here. We got to get our stuff together, sort of thing. Yeah. So if you know people, anybody born, those are very pivotal times. And consequently, if you know anyone that has Saturn in Virgo, and I didn't look up the years, maybe I'll do that next week and we'll talk a little bit about that. But you always want to look at the opposites. So if you know anyone that's a Saturn Virgo person, I believe that might be the 1978, I think it's 79 folks that are going to be turning 46, 45, 46, mid-40s. That Saturn was in Virgo, and that's one time. So if you're looking at someone staring down the mid-40s, they would have Saturn in Virgo. This transit is opposing them. It's a push-pull. So it's not a return, but it is activating their Saturn in Virgo. So what you would look for is what are the aspects to Saturn in their natal chart, and then what house position is their natal Saturn have, that sort of thing. And I know I have a family member, he has Saturn in Virgo natally, and he is a registered nurse. And Saturn is work, Virgo is health and serving. Virgo is very much a health sign. The 6th house is very much a health house. Now, I don't know his 6th house cusp. I don't know his wheel, but he does have Saturn in Virgo. So that generation, people born that year, would have a tendency to have a job or something, volunteering or community, where they would want to serve. They would get satisfaction with their Saturn, their work ethic to serve, depending on what else is in the chart. And if this Saturn Virgo person had more Virgo or additional Pisces planets, that Pisces Virgo need to serve would definitely be very much there. So keep in mind all that Saturn work. And then, there's a lot more. There's so much we could talk about. Maybe I should do a live stream if you guys and gals want to see me do a live stream coming up just on Saturn. If you're getting tired of me talking about just one sign, maybe we could talk about how Saturn affects all the signs. If you want that, please comment on the replay or on my latest video, and I can do that, because the Saturn in Pisces, it's squaring an 18-degree Sagittarius planet and also an 18-degree Gemini planet as well. So if you're born in the 2nd decan of the other mutable signs, you're getting a square from Saturn, which could be tense. There's some lessons there with tension as well. So that's why I wrote health, Virgo here, health and order. So there's You got to watch your health. Anybody that has an 18-degree planet that is going to either square, oppose, or conjunct this Pisces or Virgo, I would say be careful of your health, or just be a little more vigilant for health. I mean, it's good for all of us right now, but breathing indoor air quality and everything. But that's an important thing. All right, so let's get to the celebrities. These are people I pick. I pick celebrities every week. So these are celebrities born between the 8th and 15th or 16th. So it's not just any Aquarius person. People that are born specifically this decan. Karen says, so interesting. Thanks for sharing the transits. You're welcome, Karen. Thank you. Thank you so much for being a loyal viewer. I know you're always here, and you always come in late with some good comments, and I really appreciate that. keeps me going when I'm getting tired, losing my voice. But let's talk about celebrities. So I talked about this last year and the year before, so I'm sorry if I'm a broken record, but how can you talk about Aquarius without saying James Dean, right? Every single Aquarius person I've ever seen a video on always mentions James Dean. And James had such a short life, right? But James Dean epitomized, he is probably a absolutely, like how Frank Sinatra is a perfect example of a late Sagittarius. James Dean is probably a stellar example of a late Aquarius. Incredibly intelligent, naturally intelligent, this natural kind of intangible, uh, charisma and likability, masculine, feminine, kind of all wrapped up into one, beautiful, but masculine, tough, sensitive, kind of all this thing, rebel. It could be with a cause or without a cause, right? And he lived a troubled life. He was attracted to speed. He was attracted to having kind of an undisciplined, kind of unruly lifestyle. And of course, that ultimately, he met his early death with those habits. But he definitely displayed, even the way he speaks, almost kind of like Marlon Brando, I'll mention Marlon when we get to Aries. James is truly, truly unique. Out of any Sagittarius, any Aquarius person born, James is truly unique. So, yeah, we could do half a live stream on him. Joe Pesci is another very, very good example of kind of a pleasant, likable, yet very intense and edgy Aquarius actor. I know some people don't care for him. I think he's great. I know he's played a lot of those mob type roles, but what I like him in, the iconic movie Home Alone, which I watch with my kids, he's great in that, and he plays that bumbling burglar who thinks he's smarter than the kid, smarter than Kevin, and he's just great. But Joe Pesci seems like this kind of raw guy, but you can tell that he's put a lot of method acting into it and a lot of intelligence and a lot of thought into how he acts. Very, very talented. Vangelis, he's a new age ambient composer. I believe he did Chariots of Fire. His music definitely very, very Aquarian to me, but also very pleasant, which would be indicative of the Venus decadent. George Winston, I discovered him in college. He's a very chill, airy, somewhat detached piano music, and he does music with the seasons. Really, really pretty, really nice stuff. Ray Manzarek, one of the co-founders and songwriters from The Doors with Jim Morrison. And I think Ray's music and his songwriting and his musicianship is very key to why The Doors music, it's very moody and dark, but it's definitely very airy and atmospheric and kind of detached. It has mood, but it also has detachment. Very interesting. Michael McDonald, also a really good example of intelligent, likable, pleasant Aquarius singers, and who's very unique. He's got the way he speaks. He's got that, that beard and the hair. No one really like him in the pop world. So from the Doobie Brothers. Peter Gabriel, What an amazing talent. The former lead singer of the original Genesis, like I mentioned, Phil Collins a couple weeks ago. He and Phil are both from Genesis. Peter Gabriel was the most dramatic, unique, eccentric person in the group, and he was very shocking, very theatrical. That's another thing with Aquarius people born this week, with the addition of the Venus constellation, is theatrics. So if they have anything else in their chart that would point to theater, like Leo, Peter has Leo rising, or if someone had Gemini or Aries or Sag, maybe Pisces, could point to acting or definitely a sense of theatrics in music or a show or any kind of composition. Peter Hook is the bassist for a iconic group called New Order, and he's got a very unique way of playing the bass. Very, very good, and I think he's very underrated, even though New Order is one of the most successful English alternative pop bands in history. But I think Peter Hook's bass playing and his contribution to the sound of the kind of alternative dance music that New Order did, very underrated. Jake E. Lee. Here's another amazing heavy metal guitarist who played with Ozzy Osbourne. And what an amazing electrical guitar. I mean, just off the charts. Now, there's so many good guitarists in the rock, heavy metal, or even pop world. There's dozens and dozens and dozens. And I'm not a guitar person per se. So you could ask a guitarist and he or she'll give you all sorts of different arguments about who's the best. But this guy, what he did with Ozzy Osbourne and also many other groups, just absolutely brilliant. Just brilliant. The sounds, it's on another level and it's on another planet. That's the thing about Aquarius. Always, always there. And let's see. Oh, and another celebrity I was talking about, this was interesting. I was talking to family, and I mentioned that I wanted to watch, there's a movie called The Dead Zone. Stephen King wrote a novel called The Dead Zone, right? And in the early 80s, they adapted it and made a screenplay. And then Christopher Walken, the former theater actor, took the role of Johnny. And it's an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, you have to see it. And even if you don't believe in telepathy, clairvoyance, psychic abilities, even if you're like skeptical or you're cynical, just watch the movie for just what it is. And it's just amazing what goes through and what happens to him. But in Dead Zone, his wife, or maybe it's not his wife, his girlfriend, before something happens, I don't want to give it away, is played by a woman named Brooke Adams. And she's a classic actress. And she acted in it, and then something happens and it changes their relationship. And she's really, really good, really amazing, has a great smile, and is just a really great example of a Venus Aquarius person. Really, really, she's wonderful to watch. I suggest it. And then I mentioned it to someone in my family. I said, oh, I want to watch Dead Zone again. Brooke Adams and Christopher Walken are in it. They're great together. And she said, oh, that's Monk's wife in real life. Monk is a show that was played by an actor named Tony Shalhoub. And in real life, Tony's wife is Brooke. So it was just this interesting connection that we were making between, we were talking about series and we were talking about Aquarius energy. And Christopher Walken is an Aries, which I'll mention when we get to the spring, but he has a lot of Aquarius in his chart. So maybe someone remind me to talk about him, because he has a lot of Aquarius energy in his acting, even though he's an Aries. So that's the celebrities there. And let me just look really quickly at the transits here again. So as I've mentioned for the last month, there is very little, almost no fire sign energy in the cosmos right now. So if you know anyone that's pregnant, and if someone is going to give birth in the next week or even month, next 3 to 4 weeks, they're going to have a baby that he or she is going to have virtually no fire signs, hardly anything. Now the fire signs are there in the chart, they're an influence in the background. But they're going to have no planet in Sagittarius, no major planet in Leo, and they would have Venus in Aries, which is the love planet. But other than that, they're going to have no major fire, depending on what houses, if they have anything in the fire houses, or they could have fire rising them, depending on when Aries rises in that 24-hour period in the chart. They could have fire Aries rising, which would greatly make up for the lack of fire, that sort of thing. But thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And just another couple things, like I said at the beginning of the hour, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please share and comment, because my videos have been very, very lackluster lately and very slow in terms of the engagement with the YouTube algorithm. So I need to get the engagement up with the subscriptions and also the likes and the comments, because anything, even if you mention a comment to me and I mention it back to you, it helps the video. So please don't forget to do that. And don't forget to subscribe. If you're watching the videos just casually, please sign in and click subscribe, because I only have 2 out of 10 people that are actually subscribed that are watching the videos regularly, especially the United States viewers. So please subscribe if you can. Sign into YouTube with your Google or YouTube account, and please do that. I appreciate it. And the live streams are here, Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Here on YouTube. And also you can follow me on X and Instagram. And I think that's it. Oh, and also you can donate to me on Venmo if you'd like. I have it here. Yeah, right down here. I have it here on Venmo at Astroscoop, and the A and the S are capital. Or I also have PayPal as well. If you ever want to donate to the channel, this is a very, very long process of growing the channel. And of course, any YouTube person that does this, even part-time, knows that it does take a lot of thought and research and time outside of your normal work or family schedule. So any help is appreciated, and it's not about the amount, it's about the thought. So I appreciate that. And then again, follow me on X and Instagram. I post there almost daily reels, and you can learn about astrology on there and keep up on me. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And this is the last true Aquarius period. So happy birthday to all the Aquarius family and friends coming up. And if you have a person in your family that's born like the 17th or after that week, that is an Aquarius Pisces cusp person. That is, they might be Aquarius, but they're cusp. So we're going to talk all about that next week. And my cusp videos are my most popular. I get more comments and requests about doing cusp material than I do just the straight sign. So thank you so much for your comments. I appreciate it, for tuning in, and stay safe. We'll see you next week.